So in this session, we're going to be giving you a little bit of background information for the ICEPELL project, and to help you sort of situate yourselves in relation to what you're seeing. Okay? So I'm going to be speaking a little bit, and Sonia will as well. And then we have Naeed Ibrahim from Nord University, and David Valent, also from Nord University, and Silvana Rampone from USR Piedmont, our partner in Italy. Okay? And our German partners will be German and Dutch partners will be speaking at the end of the conference. Okay, so this is just a part of us. All right, so now I can click. Okay, so I'm going to be just giving a very brief introduction about the project and its intellectual outputs. And oh, I realized I completely forgot one slide. But that's okay, that's okay. And intercultural citizenship education. And then Silvana will talk about Etwinning and the notion of transnational communities. And then Sonia and I will talk about the ICEPRO course, which is a professional development course, and, effective professional, see? Professional development. And then Naeed will talk about picture book selection and ICEPELL picture books, and David will talk about materials development and ICE kits. Okay? This is what started us off with our project. We had this in mind, which is a quote from Michael Byrom and Peter Doye from last century. Don't know if you, I won't read it out loud, I'll let you read it to yourselves. I think it still rings true today, the complexity of the task that we have teaching English to children from the ages of 5 to 12. And also, we struggle with the whole notion of including intercultural competence in our aims. And so what we wanted to do as a consortium of 6 partners, we prepared a proposal for an Erasmus Plus project, which we hoped responded to Michael Byrom and Peter Doye's call, and we prepared this 3-year program, which started in September 2019 and will finish in August 2022, and this is the closing event. And we aimed to do the following. We targeted the teaching of English as a foreign language, so within school learning contexts, to children from the ages of 5 to 12. We aimed at developing the skills, attitudes, and competencies associated with intercultural communicative competence. We sought to relate English to citizenship education, which is transversal across the curricula in most of the project partners' countries. And in fact, in Europe, it's in most educational curricula. We included a professional development course for teachers, student teachers, and school librarians, and we considered picture books as the appropriate teaching materials. We considered them as vehicles for teacher-made resources in its approach. And it is the teacher-made resources which you will be experiencing today in the teacher showcases. So, what is intercultural citizenship education? It's a slippery fish to get to grasp. Can you? The writing is a little bit small on the image there, but intercultural citizenship education fuses foreign language learning and civic action in local or international communities. And can you see we have a picture book, which is the vehicle for our intercultural citizenship education. But here we can see how language education it develops a dimension of critical intercultural awareness, which is very much the central focus of Byrom's intercultural competence model. And it suggests that teachers encourage their children to reflect critically on what is happening around them and engage in socially conscious action-taking activities together. So to become intercultural citizens then, we need a group of teachers and learners in one context to get together with a group of teachers and learners in another context. And we used in our project the Etwinning platform to connect the children and their teachers so that they could become transnational communities and intercultural citizens together. And the picture books were the vehicles for that. So one of the other concepts that you will hear a lot over the next 2 days is the name Erasmus Group. Now, Erasmus groups are groups of participants who attended our professional development course. Now, there were 5 partner countries, and so each Erasmus group was made up of 1 member from each partner country. And this was really important because it meant that they would be able to engage in intercultural dialogue together and learn with and from each other and experience another way of looking at things and learn about, see what they are doing with from a different perspective. We take what we do for granted often until we share what we do with others and they are surprised because it's different to what they do. And so we discover, wow, so what I do is not the same as what everyone else does, and they discover the same, and you learn a lot from this experience of exchanging and trying to understand and trying to put yourselves into other people's shoes. So this was a really important part of the project, and of course it started during the professional development course, but it also continued on Etwinning when our participants had to engage virtually with each other, and they encountered other interesting experiences of, when is it possible to meet virtually, depending on, our availability during the day or our attitude to work-life balance. It was a very challenging experience for many of us to be able to work successfully in Erasmus groups. But teachers and student teachers managed it very well, so it was great. Okay. We have 4 intellectual outputs which were planned for the project. And the ICE survey was the very first one that we were able to complete because it was a needs assessment tool which was implemented in the 5 project countries. And the aim was to collect information about practitioners' understanding of attitudes towards, experience with, and confidence about integrating intercultural education and citizenship into their early English language learning classes. So it was completed by the teachers in the 5, and the student teachers in the 5 partner countries, and it confirmed that although they were fairly confident about the concept of culture, they were unfamiliar with the intercultural domain of early language learning and its affective and pragmatic dimensions. And similar results emerged regarding citizenship education. Teachers were confident about the concept of citizenship, but they were unsure how to plan for citizenship through English lessons. So we had predicted that this would be the case, so we were able to ensure activities to develop these competencies in our professional development course. The ICE kits, these are teaching packs for practitioners. So it's a practitioner is a teacher, a student teacher, a librarian, a teacher librarian, and of course their students, because they are to help practitioners to use picture books for intercultural citizenship in the classroom. There are 18 ICE kits. We've managed to create 18 ICE kits, and they are all online. We're very proud of them. They have been designed by Lupa Designs. Is Danuta here today? Danuta is a Wojciechowski, I think that's how you say her last name. She's a picture book creator herself, but she's also a designer, and so she was the perfect choice for us to invite to create our visual images and the design our products. So we hope that you like the look of them as well as what's inside them, as well as their content. So we have 18 ICE kits, 15 of which were developed by the practitioners, the teachers and the student teachers for teachers all over the world. So that's really exciting. And And they've been piloted. These 15 ice kits have been piloted in real classrooms in the partner countries, and this is what you'll be hearing about today during the showcases. Okay, those 4 pairs of sets of showcases, 2 today and 2 tomorrow. Okay, the next, in fact, I'm going to do this one first. I'm going to do the ICE Guide first, and I'll come back to the ICE Pro course. So the ICE Guide, which is the beautiful red book that you have in your bag, is for any stakeholder who is involved in early language learning. So that's teachers, librarians, student teachers if they wish to read it, teacher educators, researchers, policymakers, publishers. We would love publishers to read it and think about what we've got in there. So it's been planned as a pedagogical framework and ready-to-use manual for the implementation of intercultural citizenship education through picture books in early language learning. And it disseminates grounded theory and practical ideas. So we looked at how we could make what we'd done accessible, and it really has emerged from the ICEPELL project. So we hope that you find it useful. It's also available online to download. For those of you who are virtually watching, you've had links in all the emails, but if you haven't found it yet, just go to the project website, and the intellectual outputs are all there for you to download. And then there is the ICE Pro Professional Development course. That's our final intellectual output that I want to tell you about. So this was planned as a 25-hour professional development course for teachers, student teachers, and teacher librarians. And it was followed by classroom-based implementation, which was accompanied by a teacher educator mentor. And Sonia and I will talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But I just want to say that we had planned, of course, for all of our activities to be the mobility activities, which are what everyone likes to be involved in an Erasmus project. Of course, we were going to be flying to Italy and Germany, and our teachers were going to meet each other together, and they were going to be able to hug each other and talk to each other and be together in the same room. But of course, this didn't happen. And so we had 2 iterations of the ICE Pro Professional Development course. We had a virtual iteration in spring, and we have some spring participants with us. Can I have a show of hands? Yes, we've got them out at the back there. We've only got 2, okay. I thought some more were coming. Maybe they will still come. Yes, and Fabrizio as well. Yes, lovely. Thank you. And then we had what we call a hybrid professional development course, where all of the Portuguese teachers came to Nova University, all of the Italian teachers went to a venue in Italy, all of the German student teachers were at the university in Germany, all of the Dutch student teachers were in the university in the Netherlands, and all of the Norwegian teachers were at the university in Norway. And then we joined together virtually. And so that was a little bit better than being completely virtual, but it still wasn't perfect. So, but they were able to touch and feel the picture books, and they were able to work together really, really nicely. So that was fantastic. And we will be repeating the course through the European School Education Platform, and Silvana will tell you a little bit more about that. So that will hopefully be in the summer of 2023. So if you're interested, if you are based in Europe and you're interested in participating and you are a teacher, you can apply for Erasmus funding to take part in the course. Okay, so that's the ICEPELL project. I think I've covered everything. And I took 15 minutes to cover it. So I used up that extra 5 minutes, I apologize. So the next, partner to talk is Silvana. And here's your clicker. I think you just have to do that. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't, then press that one.
This one?
Yeah, and then if that doesn't work, you just call for George.
It works at the moment. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to talk to you about Etwinning, that has a big role in promoting intercultural citizenship. What is Etwinning, for those who don't know it? It's a free and safe European platform co-founded by the Erasmus Plus program. Etwinning was born in 2005, and I started to become an Etwinner ambassador in 2008, so I'm quite old. In all senses, age and Etwinner. It's the largest community of teachers in Europe that has been set up with the idea that collaboration between schools from different countries makes learning more engaging. It's a great way to foster friendship and understanding between people from different cultures. And it's a perfect way to implement inclusion and understanding of different perspectives and points of view, because teachers and classes are working together and they have to find a way to work well together. So they have to accept differences at different points of view. Why did we use Etwinning in ICEPELL? Because Etwinning allows school staff and students to make connection. So it allows to create a real community of practice. At the same way, it promotes language learning, because children and teachers have to speak a common language, but many Etwinning projects are also multilingual projects, so you can use your own language to talk with the others, and you can do beautiful activities also in your language, but we need a common language. In this case, in ICEPELL, it was English, so children can develop their language competence through interaction in the target language in an authentic real-world setting that's completely different from the use of a course book. Etwinning promotes intercultural communication and a better understanding of other cultures, because the children were working with the children from other schools. They learn about their own culture and exchange their own culture with the cultures of the others. It enables and requires participants to voice their opinions, compare their ideas to those of their international partners, encouraging empathy. Empathy is a very important word in Etwinning project. And Etwinning project also help to reduce stereotyping. It's very useful for this. It allows learners and teachers to share ideas on how to take action in the local and wider community of citizenship, on citizenship issues. So through Etwinning, the students involved in ICEPELL had the chance to discuss together how to take action in their local community, starting from the message of the picture book. So, integration of Etwinning into the ICEPRO course. So, as Sandy told before, each ICE-kit includes an Etwinning taking action cycle. So all these teachers from Europe gathered together in Erasmus groups, and they followed this Etwinning taking action cycle. How does it work? It works in this way. They used this picture book as a starting point, and around this picture book, they developed different activities. So in class, they discovered about the topic of the picture books. Then they went to the platform in the twin space. It's called the place where students and teachers can cooperate. It's called the twin space. So in the twin space, they shared the activities they did in class about the topic of the picture book, and they exchanged ideas in order to co-create together materials, not only Italian children, Portuguese children, or German children worked on their own self, but they shared the idea how to create materials to take action in the local community. So then they did these activities in the local communities. They went back to Etwinning to share their experience in the local community, and then there was a reflection about what they did. In short, because then David is going to explain this model deeper. So if you don't know Etwinning, we are going through a transition between the old Etwinning platform and the new Etwinning platform. At the moment, the European network based in Brussels is putting together Etwinning and School Education Gateway. So in School Education Gateway, you will find the course about our project when it will be put, and at the same time, you will find Etwinning. And the old platform is going to stay there, but it won't be possible to operate in it. It's a very slow transition because they are facing a lot of problems. So those who are not registered in Etwinning, they have to create an EU account. Here you have QR code where you can find the link how to create this EU account. When you have created the EU account, you can go to School Education Europe and you can log in. And at the moment, what you can do is to start new projects and new groups. You can see what it has been done before. Slowly, everything will be moved. Those who already have an Etwinning account, they have to be very careful. They have to be very careful to create a new EU login using the same email they have used for Etwinning. Otherwise, nothing will be moved to your EU account. This is very, very, very important. Those who are already registered in Etwinning, go to Etwinning, check in your profile which email you used to log in. Go to this other link that is in the QR code, create a EU login, and then all is done. Okay? Good. So I leave David to explain deeper all this taking action cycle. That's the clue point of our project. And if you have questions during the seminar, you can ask me about Etwinning and the School Education Gateway. Thank you.
You're starting, aren't you? Yeah. There you go.
Okay, I again. So I'm going to talk a little bit with Sandy about the ICE Pro course. So the main aim of the course, let me see if this works. Yes. Well, the main aim, back, wait. Okay. The main aim, or the two main aims of this course, was to provide training and professional development to pre- and in-service teachers in order for them to be able to be more competent and more confident integrating the concept of ICE in their English lessons. And also to strengthen the practitioner's ability to use virtual learning platforms to communicate across borders, as Silvana already mentioned, the Etwinning platform, but not only that. So the objectives or the aims for the participants, or what we've thought about it in the beginning, was, as I've said, to make sure that all the participants would understand and recognize the importance of integrating ICE in early English language learning. Also, how to select picture books that would focus on ICE, because it wasn't easy, well, at least for me in the beginning. To share and mediate picture books in English. Well, share picture books in English as a primary teacher, it's very easy, but mediate them, and sometimes with topics, issues that are a bit difficult too. So this was a great opportunity to learn how to do it in the future. And then the other part was to know how to plan, implement, and evaluate these ICE-related activities, picture books in English, because we know we are used to prepare activities, but sometimes they can even be focused on ICE, but we are not conscious about that. Another objective, and I found it really, really interesting at this point, and this is because in Portugal, for instance, we have citizenship as a subject in itself, and we also have in our curriculum the intercultural domain. But teachers still struggle to assess these two, the intercultural domain and citizenship as a subject. So this was really important to give some notion, to give some confidence to the practitioners to be able to assess students in these two topics. I'm sorry. The other thing that I've found, this is personal, really important, and I think we had a great focus on this, was on the reflection moments. So the teachers were able to reflect on their teaching and their learning context. And this was done in a way that those activities or those moments of reflection could be used and applied in their teaching practice and making a routine with their students too. So this was what the group of these trainers wanted to have or give to the participants of the ICEPELL course. And then it took us some time to decide upon the structure of the ICEPELL course. As we have 5 different countries, different time zones, different cultures, different routines, and we needed to be feasible for each country. And each country also has special needs. For instance, in Portugal, the course needed to be accredited by the Portuguese Training Council, which have its specific criteria for that. So we need to meet the needs of all countries and to make a common core course to be practicable for everyone. So it was not easy. I think it was more difficult than the content in itself of the course. Well, the course had 3 stages. Sandy already mentioned that we had 2 editions. One was in March 2021. It was completely online. This was not the plan in the beginning. As Sandy said, the plan was to take 5 teachers of each country and fly to another country and join them with the other teachers. Anyway, so the first edition of the course was in March 2021, completely virtual in Moodle platform, Zoom platform, Etwinning platform, you name it. And then we had in November the hybrid edition of the course. And in this hybrid format, I'm going to explain a little bit more because we had 3 stages of the course. It's a long course. On the first stage, first moment of the course is a 25-hour, but we have reviewed it and now it will be in the future 30 hours, right? In this 30-hour, the teachers are all together in a teacher training center. So, for instance, in November, we had all the Portuguese trainees and trainers here in Universidade Nova, Italy, in a place in Italy, Norway, Germany, in the Netherlands. And so they had the input and they worked together there. At this stage, we formed also the Erasmus group. Sandy already mentioned what are these groups. So it's a teacher from each country, okay? So when this stage ended, this first stage of the course, teachers have already selected the picture book. The Erasmus group have already selected a picture book, and they started to create, to develop the activities they intended to apply in their classroom. So the face-to-face moment ended, and they had this second moment where they went to their classes, they applied their activities, but at the same time they were working with their partners in their Erasmus group. And there was also a mentor, a teacher trainer, a mentor that would help them, guide them throughout the process. And so in this stage, not only they were applying the activities in their classroom, but they were also having Zoom meetings with the different partners from the different countries. They would also have the Etwinning platform where they try to bring the children together and share their activities. And then the last stage is this stage here today. Well, this is one example. It's where they can, or they are invited to share their learning and their products of the ICEPELL course. So it could be in local, in the school, it could be a national network, or like this, having this conference where we will have the teachers, we will showcase their ice kits. And I think that's it for me.
That's you. That's cool. Very nice. Thank you. Apologies. Now, I'm just going to briefly read through this. The ICEPELL Professional Development course follows 7 effective features of professional development. So it was content focused, and I think that you've got an idea that we looked at intercultural citizenship. There was a very strong element of picture book selection, picture book read alouds and mediation, and creating materials and reflecting and reviewing. We've mentioned this several times already, but it also incorporated active learning where teachers were hands-on doing everything, with the picture books. We provided lots of models of effective practice, but also resources as models as well. And of course, as I think you've already come to understand that there was a lot of collaboration going on in the Erasmus groups, and that we were able to mentor and support the teachers, but also it offered opportunities for reflection. So we're very proud that we're able to bring that together as one whole. And it was of a sustained development because we ensured that the teachers and student teachers weren't able to, but the teachers were able to put their ice kits into practice, try them out, and continue reflecting on that experience. So picture books were key to the training, and following Smiljana Nar and Sissis Kovacis approach, picture books need to be experienced, they need to be seen, or they need to be understood in theory, and also they need to be put into practice to really, for teachers to really have a feel for that. And so this is exactly what happened. We used picture books to introduce content and introduce concepts. We used picture books as examples of ways to do things. We used picture books to develop activities and resources. Picture books were very much part of the course. I'm not going to talk about this, but I'm just going to go on to the last slide because we're running late now. The idea was that we would want to empower action taking. And so I'd like to take Monica Lourenço's model. She uses a model which she refers to the cycle of a butterfly as a framework for reflecting on her student teachers and their pathways towards global citizenship education. So if we think about the ICEPELL Professional Development course and our approach to what we were doing, if you think about the egg that sits on the leaf, this is where we hope that the teachers are forming their beliefs and assumptions about education and an early language learning teacher's role in an intercultural citizenship education. Then when they become caterpillars, as they crawl along the leaf and start eating it, they're developing their pedagogical content and knowledge to support action taking. And then they turn into their chrysalid, and they are experimenting and reflecting critically and, of course, reconstructing their identities so that they become out as a butterfly and they are able to embed action taking into daily practices for social transformation. So I think it's a really nice model to think about the ICEPELL Professional Development course, and because we're running late, I will pass on to Naya Ibrahim.
Right, so I'm speaking about the picture book selection guide, and I think we can start with picture books galore. There are so many wonderful picture books out there. I just love walking to Waterstones in London and getting lost in the children's picture book section, don't you? But you don't have to go so far, actually. You just walk into the building here, and suddenly there are rows and rows of picture books as well. All the picture books we used in the ICEPELL project. But it can be quite overwhelming. So how do you choose picture books for intercultural citizenship education? So what we did was we worked on a picture book selection guide to help teachers and actually to help ourselves initially in identifying the picture books that actually had those features that allowed us to actually identify intercultural citizenship themes for teaching. Now obviously the guide, we just move on first to the next slide, which basically describes what the picture book selection guide is. So a tool. It is actually a tool to help teachers select picture books, and it allows you, it's also a reflective tool because it allows you to reflect on the best, on the themes and the best picture books to actually choose for these themes. And if you look at the your guide, which is actually in the book, and you look at the end of the guide, you'll see a photocopyable picture book selection guide. If you want to have a look at it while I talk through it, you're very welcome. But the picture book selection guide actually consists of 4 parts, and we're just going to go through those 4 parts very quickly. So part 1 is the actual picture book information. It includes, okay, besides the title, the creators, and I just like the fact that we are calling them creators because you've got the authors and the illustrators and the translators who are actually part of the creation process, because these picture books are actually works of art as well as literary objects. So publisher, we also look at the prizes. Has the picture book received any interesting prizes, international prizes? And then the idea is, what possible age group could we use this particular picture book for? Because even though picture books, you know, I mean, we can actually use them across all ages, and you can actually mediate a picture book for different ages, but some picture books are probably more appropriate for certain age groups. So this also allows you to think about that. Part 2 actually is the main part of the whole selection guide, which is the intercultural, which contains the intercultural citizenship content. And we'll come back to that one a little bit later because it consists of 4 parts that we'll go through in a bit. Part 3 then looks at the picture book as an aesthetic object. So you're looking at the picture book from the literary perspective, the visual perspective. How do the visuals, the illustrations support the understanding of the story? How do the illustrations bridge the gaps in the story and in the words, in the language? So that's an important element there. And then part 4 is it's the conclusions. So what conclusion have you come to in terms of whether this picture book contains or not the intercultural citizenship themes, and how could you actually integrate this into the classroom? So there's a section there where you can actually start thinking of ideas already about how you could integrate it into the classroom. Now back to part 2, as I said, it is the main focus of the selection guide, because it really allows you, because it focuses on the ICE themes, and part 2 is divided into 4 different focal fields. So focal field 1, socially responsible behavior, interaction with others, allows you to highlight themes in the book where children can start thinking about how they actually relate to others and how they relate to difference and how they accept difference and respect difference. Focal field 2, interaction with local and global issues, goes beyond the interpersonal and takes us into looking at perhaps some of the more challenging themes at a global level. If you think about the environmental issues, climate crisis, the conflict, there are so many conflicts out there today, the refugee situation. So this takes us beyond that, and it allows us to also deal with the challenging issues. Focal field 3, a sense of belonging and knowing about or respecting own, other or heritage cultures. And this brings in identities, the focus on identities, linguistic identities, cultural identities, and how we actually learn to be curious about others and also respect personal differences. And then focal field 4 allows the children to reflect. So it's more general criteria, but allows the children to reflect on who they are and how they relate to each other. So these are actually the important elements in the part 2 really hones in on the ICE themes. And then the guide also has 2 columns, if you look on the side. And the guide allows us to also look for themes that are explicit, that immediately jump off the page of the picture book. You can immediately identify, okay, this is about cultural differences. Like, for example, the book Same, Same, but Different. But then it also has a column for mediating. Now, some themes, like the book Same, Same, but Different, for example, has a very explicit intercultural theme. You can actually see 2 little boys, they live in different countries, they do the same thing, they both go to school, they both travel to school, they both have families, but it's also quite different the way their lives are. However, this book, for example, in the mediating column, you could actually start thinking about, okay, how can we mediate children's understanding of stereotypes, for example, because this book can also be an opportunity for us to challenge stereotypes about cultures. So you've got those explicit themes, and then it also allows the teacher to think about how can I mediate other aspects of it. And then, of course, there's a disquieting element. And that's where the picture book selection guide also allows you to identify these disquieting elements. And these are the challenging issues that we are bringing into primary classrooms, because sometimes we probably feel that we can't or shouldn't be dealing, or how do you deal with challenging issues in the classroom. So the selection guide allows you to actually identify them and helps you to start thinking about how to deal with them in the classroom. And of course, The Day the War Came, this wonderful picture book, deals with conflict situations, how children are caught up in conflict situations, and then how the refugee, this mobility, this forced mobility, actually affects children's lives. And in conclusion, basically the selection guide allows you to, it encourages deeper reflection around using picture books, highlights the potential for the picture book.
Move back a bit.
Oh, I'm sorry, is it too loud? Not so close to the mic. Okay, all right, just... The
technicians are calling our
okay. Right, I'm at the end anyway.
That's okay.
It's okay. Enhances the role of the teacher in mediating intercultural citizenship. It allows teachers to make personal and professional responses to the picture book. It captures teachers' initial ideas of how they will explore the ICE themes, identifies weaker elements in the book, and allows teachers to choose picture books with more or less a disquieting element. So have a look at it in here. Thank you.
Maybe I can use my teacher voice. Okay, so throughout the 2-day conference, you're going to be discovering lots more about the ICE kits, particularly the ICE kits from the hybrid course, which was November. And in this 10 minutes, I want to kind of set the scene, lay the foundations for those ICE kits and for what you're going to be discovering. So I'm going to talk a little bit about materials development with particular focus on the ICE kits. So for me, I think for all of us, but for me particularly, materials development is the heart of the ICEPELL project, because these are what take intercultural citizenship into the classroom. So the picture book is central, the picture book is the vehicle, but the materials created around that picture book enable ICE to enter the early English language learning space. So As Nair was talking about, lots of challenging themes which can be complex, themes which in primary English language teaching we often think are not very age accessible. Particularly the concept of diversity and thinking about diversity in an intercultural way. And so the complexities involved in diversity, and I think about the picture book Welcome, for example, that Sonia, Anna and I co-created an ice kit around, which was a really creative experience. So we're fusing there the climate crisis and also the refugee crisis. We're bringing those two very challenging global issues together in a way that's accessible to children. Also, as Sandy was talking about, the importance of designing tasks for English language learning with specific ICE outcomes, and the materials creation process enables teachers to do that in a meaningful way. As Silvana was talking about this, the importance of collaboration. And so when the teachers were collaborating virtually across borders as an international community of practice in their Erasmus groups, by creating materials, they were able to enact these cooperative learning principles. So it gave a real focus and a framing for that international cross-border collaboration. Lots of interaction. So we've seen how interaction is key in intercultural citizenship education, and this experiential and experimental process of materials creation enabled this intercultural dialogue. And also, in linking the world of the classroom, which is sadly, I feel, where intercultural citizenship focus often stays in language education, by creating these materials, as Silvana was talking about, with the strong action-taking component, it enabled the children and the teachers to, by creating these materials, to join that classroom dimension of focusing on intercultural citizenship with the real-world dimension, going out, taking the theme out, exploring it and relating it to the local community, and then by that collaboration across borders, into the international sphere. So there's a lot of powerful drivers, if you like, for co-creating materials. Okay, so what then is the material itself? What is an ICE kit? Well, as Sandy said, it's a pack or a set of teaching materials based on a picture book. Now, they're all freely downloadable. I hope some of you have managed to download them already from the ICEPELL website, and they're created by the participants specifically for use in their own classes, but also with awareness that these materials should be usable in different contexts around the world. So I think that added an additional challenge for the materials creation process, because creating for a specific group of children and creating for the world are two quite different things, but hopefully the materials in the ICE kit are flexible enough so that a primary English teacher, or even for some of the kids an early years English teacher, can take the material, the ideas, following the framework, and adapt some of the activities so that they are in sync with their own particular class and context. So as you can see there on the screen, the ICE kit is in three main parts. So the first part, the information about the age range. So the kits are either for 5 to 8 or for 9 to 12 in terms of age. Also the outcomes, so that, you know, our project fuses the language learning domain, the intercultural learning domain, and the citizenship education domain. So we have outcomes for our different domains. It includes what preparations need to be undertaken when using this ICE kit, and as well as useful language. So thinking about ways to feed in, to supply, to offer that process or task language. So there's a language learning toolbox. In part 2 then, this is when you've heard lots of us mention this morning this concept of mediation. So mediation's used in English language learning in many different ways. And in the ICEPELL project, we're talking about the way the teacher scaffolds the read aloud of the picture book and also the activities and tasks the children do around the picture book. So we have there our 5 stages for part 2, the story sharing framework. So setting the context, getting the children interested, raising their curiosity in the theme. And then before the read aloud, so the exploration of the aesthetic object that I call paratextual ponderings. So really exploring those features. So the front cover, the back cover, the dedication, the dust jacket. So all of the end papers, the title page, all of those aspects of the picture book that help children get even more curious in the theme, want to listen to the read aloud, want to find out about those characters, and make predictions about the plot of the picture book. Moving on then to while reading aloud, so all of those questioning and involvement techniques to help children access the theme using particularly the visual aspects as well as the text. And then creative response in after reading aloud. And what you'll notice when the different Erasmus groups share their ICE kits in the next 2 days is the notion of choice and options, so that the teacher can select according to their class, their interests, the time available, resources available, and different preferences as well. And then, of course, the reflect and review moments. And what you'll see throughout all of the 18 kits are systematic incorporation of reflection and reviewing, which is also, I think, still, particularly in published material, quite rare. And so the ICE kits provide a vehicle for systematic reflection and reviewing. And then, as Silvana introduced, the Etwinning taking action cycle and the 6 stages there, where they are co-creating together. I consider it a mini project, really, and then we have elements of project-based learning where we are working together and we're taking the theme and we're going beyond the book. So the book became our very powerful vehicle for ICE, but then we can take the theme beyond the story itself, beyond the characters, and into the real world through the action-taking cycle. Constantly coming back to share through Etwinning. You see 2 systematic points there, sharing our discoveries and also sharing the outcomes of taking action. So really, for me, an ICE kit is a blueprint. It's not only these 18 kits and then job done. It's actually the beginning of materials co-creation. So the intention of the project is that teachers in many different contexts in Europe and beyond Europe will get together with their classes on Etwinning, on similar platforms, and co-create materials following the framework. So it's a flexible but scaffolded or supportive framework for materials creation. And here are the ICE kits. Oh.
The other way. See what happened there, David? Just a minute. It should be there. Magic fingers. That's great.
How do we go slideshow?
How do you go what?
Here we are.
Yep, we're good.
Okay, so those are the 18 ICE kits, as you can see, and the richness of the themes. And you'll see in your ICE guide in part 2, there is an outline of all of the different ICE themes that can be developed through the different kits. Okay, part 1, I said, gives you the information, a kind of an overview and an easy to glance at summary for the teacher. Part 2 then, I talk through that, so we're starting to get the children curious, working with the peritext, subsequent read alouds. We've said 2 in the kit, but of course it really depends on the class. So, that idea of tell it again, read it aloud again, maybe there will be many read-alouds. Creative response tasks I've talked about, and then the systematic reflect and review. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the action-taking cycle. And the thing with the action-taking cycle is it very much depends on the theme of the book. So some books, what you'll discover, some picture books, once you've gone through that selection criteria that Nair talked about, lend themselves more to the intercultural domain. Some of them lend themselves more to the citizenship domain, and some of them, which are perhaps the easiest to work with from an ICE perspective, fuse the two. But of course, what we found during the co-creation process on our 2 courses was that if a book is strongly intercultural in essence, we can build in a citizenship component. And for picture books which are strongly citizenship in essence, we can build in an intercultural theme as well. So our analysis of the ICE kits, those 18 kits, we found 2 main types of action taking through the Etwinning cycle. So the first type then is when the children plan and co-create and undertake hands-on tangible action taking. So they do something which has an immediate direct impact. So the experience is straight away. So from the teachers who are here now, which ICE kits would you say are type 1 in terms of your action taking? So Anna, I can think of clean up. So when we do a beach clean up, straight away we see. Okay. So the beach cleanup, so straight away it's hands-on, it's tangible, the impact is immediate, yes? And then there is another type which is a beyond the classroom product, so all of our taking action cycles take the themes outside of the classroom, but it's more indirect. And it involves some interaction with the local community and trying to encourage the community to engage with the topic. So if think of a picture book like Be Kind, for example, we can encourage people to be kind, we can give out our messages, we can set up a little help desk about ways to be kind, but how can we really be sure they will be? And so in type 2 taking action, what's really important is to help the children develop ways of gathering some feedback about the action and ways of following up the action, so that when they come back to the Etwinning cycle and they're going to share the outcomes, they have some responses for them from the community. So little questions, mini interviews with the community are a good way of capturing a little bit of evidence or feedback around type 2 of taking action. So this was to give you the kind of the foundation of the ICE kits, and it'll all become very concrete and very clear when the Erasmus group share their ICE kits over the next 2 days. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we've come to the end of our presentation of the project, and we hope that we've given you a sort of an idea of how what you're going to see came about. But we do have, there we go, we do have a space for questions if you would like to ask some questions. It looks like we already have some. Okay, it's a nice question there. Ever thought your work and materials might become a gateway to ICE with higher levels of ELT? Absolutely. As David has said, it's a blueprint. So, in fact, some of the books can definitely be taken into higher levels for older students. Our target age range was 5 to 12, but we think that some of the picture books could go into 12 plus. But also, it's the structure and the format, the blueprint, which can be used by any teacher with any group of children, of learners, and a picture book. So yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you want to look at some of these questions. Yes, yes, those are the courses we mentioned will be happening on the European... What's the full name? Yeah, what's the full name? It's European School Education Platform, isn't it? That's it. Yes, so that's for the European teachers to enroll. The course will be on that. Yeah. Yes, of course they have to apply for an Erasmus grant. Yeah. Can it be rolled up? Can the questions be rolled up? Don't know if anyone else has. Advice would be to have a look at our website and look at the ICE guide, which has information about what a picture book is. We've deliberately not talked much about picture books in this session because next, after the coffee break, we have Francesca Sanna, who will be talking about a love story between pictures and words. And that's the perfect introduction to those of you who don't know what a picture book is. So we've deliberately not said much about picture books because we have Francesca and, of course, Stefan Barraud tomorrow and Nicola Davis as well. So, but yes, I mean, have a look at the ICE guide, have a look at what a picture book is, and the ideas in the ICE kits. And yeah, yes, that would be my advice. Any more questions? Don't be shy. And so those of you here can be also writing questions. So it's kind of weird, isn't it? Right. Well, we'll stop. So thank you very much to those of you who did write questions. And we're just a couple of minutes ahead of time. We have coffee and cakes and fruit, I think, waiting for us. And vegetables! Wow! In the atrium. And the bookshops are also waiting for you to browse through. In your virtual spaces, in your living rooms and your offices, hopefully you'll be able to go and have a coffee break as well. And we will see you back here in 30 minutes. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.